Kunigami and Chigiri have had limited interaction since their separation during the second selection. While the Bastard Munchin versus Uber's match has concluded, and they are not on the same team, I anticipate that Chigiri will play a very important role in triggering Kunigami's awakening. The groundwork for this theory is laid out through subtle hints and foreshadowing that Kaneshiro has done. So let's take a look into their individual mindsets and explore how their paths might cross in a way that wasn't immediately apparent in the recent match. Let's start with taking a look at their interaction in chapter 213. When Chigiri walked into the German stardom, he clarified that there was something that he needed to say to Kunigami. Yet Kunigami was not interested in the slightest, as he tells Chigiri that there's nothing he has to say to him, which is why he tells him to beat it as he walks away. So Chigiri then tells him to just listen to what he has to say. He tells Kunigami that he gets that he has changed, and that his playstyle and aura are totally different from before. Chigiri tells Kunigami that he has changed too, and that from now on, he's going to keep an eye on Kunigami as a result. So he tells him that he'd better keep an eye on him as well. Kunigami stares into the distance with a cold look on his face, showing his disinterest. So where are Chigiri's statements coming from? What does he mean by the fact that he has changed? And why does Kunigami avoid him more than he avoids Isagi? And more importantly, what does Chigiri mean with his "you better keep an eye on me" statement? I think that the source of this comes from chapter 68, where Chigiri made a promise to Kunigami. After Chigiri, Kunigami and Ryo lost the 3 versus 3 against Nagi, Isagi, and Baru. Chigiri got chosen as a new member of their team, and as he was walking away, he told Kunigami to not forget that they still haven't won against Isagi. And another thing that he told him was that he'll be holding on to that same frustration and wait for him. Take note of him calling Kunigami a hero in this panel, and it wasn't even in a teasing way. Chigiri is expecting Kunigami to crawl his way back up through the second selection as he goes on with the hopes of finding Kunigami at the top, but that doesn't happen. After he realized that Kunigami didn't make it to the third selection, his response to it was kind of mixed between anger and suppressing his emotions. In this panel, Bachira told the former members of Team Z that he didn't think that Kunigami would be failing at all, as he's a strong player. Chigiri tells Bachira that this is how Blue Lock works in response, and more importantly, this whole place is done for if they are unable to defeat the U20 team. Because of the circumstances at hand, none of them have the time to be worrying about others. Chigiri has lost a valuable friend here and has to move on without him. This sequence of events is what has started Chigiri's survival mode. In the third selection, we see this being highlighted. Chigiri has realized that if he tried to forcefully assert himself, the top 6 would still be superior in scoring ability. And because of that, they'd just end up being used as bait at best anyways. So for now, he's not going to care about the flow of the game, but instead he's just going to do what he can do and focus on presenting himself. I'll use this moment to quickly ask you guys that if you are liking my content so far and wish to support me, subscribe to the channel. Now back to the video. Whether Chigiri had decided to keep playing egotistically or just survive, it wouldn't have made a difference, as something he lacked nerfed him drastically. I think the panel I'm about to talk about next parallels one of Kunigami's and will also show Chigiri's weakness. Chigiri gets a cramp in his right knee at the start of the second half, which was against the former U20 team, and as a result he told Isagi that he's sorry about these circumstances. Even though the second half had just begun, he couldn't believe that he was already out of stamina after that. This was mainly due to him having wasted a lot of time during the period when all he did was running away in order to give up on football, and now it's come around at this important moment to bite him in the back. He reckons that it's very pathetic as a result. If he had just kept running properly, this wouldn't have been an issue and he could continue on playing in the match till the end. The panel I'm about to discuss next is the parallel to what Chigiri is experiencing. Kunigami remembers Shido's words, which were that someone who can't break himself down will never be able to trigger an explosion. He slams the wall out of frustration as he slowly makes his way to the exit. Kunigami had lost against Shido and Igaguri. He couldn't tell what he was lacking as he was walking through that exit gate. In these panels, we can clearly see that they were both lacking something, although only Chigiri actually knew what he was lacking while Kunigami did not. And from this point on, Kunigami becomes very lost. Now everyone pretty much guessed what the wild card was at this point. It was a loser's bracket that pitted everyone that got cast out against each other, which gave them all one last hope, only for the strongest loser to come out on top. In the Neo-Egoist League, we've seen that Kunigami won, which means he had to send 265 people packing. This is probably the main cause of him destroying his hero ideology. In this panel, after he came out of the wild card, Kunigami literally told Isagi that he doesn't call himself a hero anymore, anymore, and that he has left that childish dumbassery in hell. How could someone possibly claim the title of the hero when he's burdened with the responsibility of personally ending the careers of 265 strikers? The wild card resembles a ruthless competition that has a lot of parallels with the Squid Game. Ego Jinpachi just threw these strikers into an unforeseen and potentially career-ending challenge, although he has quite literally done that from the start. Kunigami's journey to triumph demanded a more difficult path than most, which forced him to grapple with the harsh reality that being the best means standing alone, having led all the others to failure. His lone wolf goal-poaching mentality emerges as a coping mechanism, which made Kunigami abandon his heroic ideals in favor of an emotionless pursuit of greatness. Stripped of his heroism, Kunigami now navigates a path defined by the weight of past choices and the pursuit of individual excellence. Chigiri's perspective is different, though. For him, self-improvement serves as a means of shouldering the responsibility for his own dreams and honor those he overcame in his journey. It's about staying true to his ideals. Going for Manshine City was a strategic choice driven by his desire to enhance his speed, which is an attribute crucial for a player of his style. However, what awaited him in Manshine City wasn't just an optimal environment for a speedster, as he encountered Chris Prince and his philosophy, which has altered his perspective drastically. This unexpected influence played a very important role in shaping Chigiri into the player he is right now. He's emphasizing personal growth not only for himself, but as a way to honor the dreams and challenges that led him to where he is today. A very important thing Chris said that stuck with Chigiri is that he said that he becomes unable to forgive himself when he doesn't match up with the ideal version of himself. There are people who write him off as a narcissist, and there are people who think that he's crazy, but he just can't betray the ideals that he has set for himself. He tells the Blue Lockers to pursue their own ideal as a result and told them to fight against reality. Chigiri is probably the most fitting student for Chris Prince out of the Manshine trio, and I'd argue that he took what Chris said more seriously than anyone else in Manshine, as after he scored his 44 Panther shot, he suddenly started to talk about his ideal as well, as he told Isagi that he trained hard to express that ideal, which is why he created this specialized body, and he reckons that this is the key to taking Blue Lock to the next level. As Chris Prince, his nickname is the perfect hero, I wonder if he reminded Chigiri of Kunigami. I wonder if him talking about his ideal was actually meant to be a message to Kunigami. Both Chigiri and Kunigami have went through changes since their last interaction, but their evolutions have taken on different forms. Chigiri, who was once driven by a single-minded pursuit of the goal, has transitioned into a more thoughtful and strategic approach. Rather than charging straight ahead, he now conditions himself intelligently to align with his true ideal. He's a striker capable of navigating the entire defense solo. His vision involves beating opponents in his world of speed to become the world's best striker. Every experience in Blue Lock has contributed to his growth, and he embraces the consequences of victory head-on, acknowledging that others may fall as he keeps on progressing. On the other hand, Kunigami has deviated significantly from his ideal self. The heroic persona that once defined him has faded away and replaced by a cold and solitary playing style. The cruelty in the world of competition has killed his heroic spirit, which has led him to adopt an emotionally detached approach on the field. The differences between Chigiri's strategic evolution and Kunigami's retreat from his heroic aspirations highlights the diverse impact that Blue Lock has on individual players. When they face off against each other in the Neo-Egoist League match, Chigiri tells Kunigami that he'll wake him up. I reckon that this interaction is Chigiri's way to say that he's going to snap him out of the belief that his past experiences should prevent him from staying true to his ideal of being a hero. Despite all the things that Chigiri went through in his path to become the world's best striker, he still managed to change and come out of it victorious through a different philosophy. This serves as a testament to the possibility of perfecting one's ideal while still achieving success. The parallel between Chigiri and Kunigami lies in the realization that merely embodying the concept of being a hero or possessing speed lacks substance without a strategic application. Chigiri's understanding, which was acquired through his diverse experiences, suggests that living up to an ideal requires a complex approach. Shido's speech about that someone unable to break themselves down can't defeat him likely resonates with Chigiri because it emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and improvement. So in response, Chigiri expresses indifference to Kunigami's perceived change and declares his intention to face him as if nothing has changed. changed. During their match, Chigiri makes a significant breakthrough by getting past Kunigami and scoring, and at the same time, Kunigami demonstrates his goal-stealing technique. In Chapter 213, we can see that Chigiri acknowledges Kunigami's transformation, but in doing so, he simultaneously also recognizes his own evolution. But I think there still is an element of guilt when Kunigami sees Chigiri again, as he has a pale expression when Chigiri explained that he came to see Kunigami because Kunigami has ghosted him. He has realized that Chigiri has changed himself for the better. He has become more confident and he is living up to himself. But Kunigami, on the other hand, isn't living up to the heroic self that Chigiri saw him as. So how can Kunigami possibly face him when he was responsible for sending 265 people straight to hell? Because of this, Kunigami is running away from himself, as he won't listen to anyone at all. I think that Chigiri will wake Kunigami up through his actions, as he had stated before as well. In recent events, we can see that Chigiri has performed well off camera against PXG, and Kunigami's relative inactivity during the Ubers match seems to serve as a wake-up call for him. The differences between their contributions and overall performance may get Kunigami to reassess his approach, and more importantly, confront the need for a conversation with Chigiri. The evolving relationship between Kunigami and Chigiri is shaping up to be a very important factor which will shapen up in the final game between BM and PXG. As the narrative unfolds, their connection is expected to play an important role in Kunigami's overall success. Furthermore, the narrative seems to be setting the stage for a significant shift in dynamics within the Egoist Four. They are no longer just Isagi's close associates, you know. Instead, they are emerging as formidable rivals in their own right, and the inclusion of new teammates like Hiyori, Corona, and Yuki adds depth to the Egoist Four, their status as rivals who have the potential to surpass Isagi in various ways. If you want to get closer to me, consider joining my private Discord community. But if not, watch this video next, Egoists. I'm out. Peace.